Hi there, students. I'm XS. That's little x, little s, which stands for extra sweet, because that's what I am. Well, we're well into spooky season now, yeah? I'm really enjoying Dogtober a lot. The weather is finally starting to change here, and it's actually getting a little bit cooler, which I love. I'm very much a cozy type dog. I adore the feeling of being all nestled up in a blankie, snug and comfortable. So, for Dogtober, I've been playing some spooky games on Twitch, and I recently tried this game Inscription, right? You've maybe seen my playthroughs or VODs here on YouTube, or maybe not. That's your prerogative. But I bring it up because that game got me thinking. Is it a spooky game? Sure. It very much is. Absolutely. It's got some monsters here and there, it's got jump scares, it's got mystery, all the hallmarks of a good scary movie. But it's also fundamentally a numbers game. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized the scariest thing about Inscription so far? Math. Okay, yes, I'm being a little bit silly, but when you think about it, it's factually the case that a fundamental fear of math is actually pretty common, isn't it? I know a lot of people who are afraid of math. I sort of blame bad teaching practices for that. Like, I don't want to come across as arrogant and try to claim that I'm a good teacher and that your math teachers were all bad teachers. But, like, in my humble opinion, the way math is frequently taught really does contain some bad practices. It's no wonder so many students have math trauma. Well, in the interest of the spookiest time of year, then, let's talk about math. Let's talk about numbers. Let's confront our fears while I teach you about using numbers and counting things in Japanese. So, let's get into it. Ikimashou! I'm literally here imagining the number of you who might be feeling anxiety just from seeing the word math on the board. Can I tell you an interesting story, students? You remember me telling you that my sensei helped me get my good doggy degree so I could become a teacher, right? Well, after I got my good doggy degree, there actually weren't any jobs teaching Japanese near me, and so for a very brief time, I was actually a math teacher. It's true. I mean, in dog time, I was only a math teacher for like a year or something, but yeah, I actually really did teach math for a short while. I've had a lot of interesting jobs in my short little doggy life. So, anyway, today we're going to learn sugaku. Sugaku in Japanese means math. But actually, these are pretty handy kanji just on their own, so let's take a look at what each of them means specifically. Do you remember the meaning of kunyomi and onyomi? So, to refresh your memory, virtually all kanji have at least two readings. Generally speaking, all kanji will have at least one kunyomi, which is a native Japanese reading, and at least one onyomi, which is a pseudo-Chinese reading. But these readings aren't limited to one kunyomi and one onyomi. Sometimes we get a huge list like this. But oftentimes, even when we do see a huge list like this, you can usually identify one kunyomi that is the most likely kunyomi that's going to be used, and one onyomi that's the most likely onyomi that's going to be used. And that's the case here. Manager-sama, do that circle thing. This kanji, kazu, will most often be pronounced kazu when you see it by itself, and will most often be pronounced su when you see it in a larger compound, just like sugaku. It's a noun meaning number or numbers. I personally see it in charts very frequently if I'm translating like a list of something. This might be the heading on the chart for something like quantity, number of items. Now, let's take a look at the other half of sugaku. We already know this kanji, don't we? It's the gaku from gakusei, which means student, and that's all of you. Gaku can be used to form a huge variety of compounds that mean like a particular field of study. Here are some examples. Tetsugaku, sugaku, kogaku, butsurigaku, shinigaku, bungaku. They're still coming. Gengogaku, igaku. Okay, enough. Jinurigaku, shigaku, keizaigaku. Please stop. Seijigaku, tenmongaku. Help! Help! I'm drowning in sciences. Manager-sama! Please? It's too much. My puppy brain can't handle this many sciences. Okay. I, um, that was scary. Thank you, Manager Sama. Oh, she's gone. Um, all right. Okay. So I was teaching you about maths, and we defined this word as the study of numbers. That's sugaku, and we define that as math, right? Okay, so then we better learn some numbers, right? Okay, here's 1 through 10 in Japanese. So we have ichi, 1, ni, 2. Uh, uh, what was weird? Um, Okay, anyway, here's 1 through 10 in Japanese. So we have hitotsu, 1, futatsu, ni. I I don't like thunder. Uh this lesson is getting creepy. Can we Are you all right with me continuing the lesson, please, board? So, okay. As I was saying, 1 through 10 in Japanese, ichi means 1, and ni means 2, and san means 3. Shi means, hey! Hey. You saw that, right? You all saw that, didn't you? Didn't you? There's a glitch or something. Okay, I'm really getting creeped out now. 1,2,3,4,5,6,7,8,9. There, I made it. I made it through 1 through 10 without anything weird happening. Stop doing that. Students, I'm starting to think this classroom might be haunted. Right. So there's some tricky things about Japanese numbers that I need to tell you. There are 3 numbers between 1 and 10 that are going to have 2 basically completely optional pronunciations normally. These are 4, 7, and 9. More or less, it's like this. 4 can be pronounced either yon or shi. And that's because shi is also the word for death in Japanese. That's actually the same in Chinese. In Mandarin, 4 and death are both pronounced si. This has led to some pretty massive cultural fear of 4 in both of these cultures. And that's why a lot of Japanese and Chinese buildings don't have a 4th floor. 4 can be pronounced either yon or shi in Japanese, as I said. My experience is that most people count like ichi, ni, san, shi, etc., but most people will prefer to use yon over shi when they might just be talking about the number 4 itself. That's basically also true with 7, shichi. It also has shi in there, so also there's, already a problem because that's like death. But also shichi sounds way too much like ichi, and so I think it's more common for people to use nana when they're talking about the number 7. And lastly, 9. Ku is a word for 9, but ku is also the word for suffering. So a pronunciation of Q is usually preferred over ku. Are you confused yet? Oh, don't worry. There's a reason I saved numbers for spooky season. We can now count to 10. Ichi, ni, san, yon or shi, go, roku, nana or shichi, hachi, kyu or ku, and ju. However, remember how we talked earlier about onyomi versus kunyomi? Well, the way we just learned to count is based on onyomi, based on the Chinese readings of these numbers. In fact, knowing how to count to 10 in Japanese gets you pretty darn close to already knowing how to count to 10 in Chinese, right? It's 一二三四五六七八九十. Some of those are practically identical to their Japanese counterpart pronunciations. However, there are also kunyomi, the native Japanese readings for all of these numbers. And in certain cases, those pronunciations are going to be used in place of the onyomi pronunciations. So these numbers are hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu, yotsu, itsutsu, mutsu, nanatsu, yatsu, kokonotsu, and to. So there are basically two entirely different sets of pronunciations for the numbers 1 through 10. Okay, great. But when do we use each one? That's a little bit complicated. The basic rule is that if you're using a counter word, you're going to use ichi, ni, san, the onyomi readings. And if you're not using a counter word, then you're going to be using hitotsu, futatsu, mitsu, the kunyomi readings. Unfortunately, that's not even wonderfully standard and reliable because, of course, some things are going to break this rule. But let's look at a quick test case for numbers with counter words. The months of the year in Japanese, right? These are the months, and they're pretty easy in Japanese because it's basically just month 1, month 2, month 3, etc. Let's look at them. I'll fix that later. Anyway, what we're looking at here are the months of the year. Well, most of them anyway. But the point is that we're seeing the number plus month for each month. And the pronunciation that we're using for all of these in all of these cases is onyomi, the Chinese reading. So we have ichigatsu, nigatsu, sangatsu, shigatsu, gogatsu, etc., etc. And why is that? Because in the case of the months of the year, we're using gatsu as a counter word. And when we have a counter word combined with a number, we're usually, but not always, going to read the numbers as ichi, ni, san, and so on, right? This will be the same for most counter words, generally speaking. For example, counting flat objects like sheets of paper would be ichimai, nimai, sanmai, etc. Now, it wouldn't be Japanese if it didn't have some exceptions to the rule, right? So let's quickly look at counting people, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, Manager-sama, can you circle hitori and futari for me? Manager-sama? Oh, right, she's gone. Doesn't matter. It's fine. I'm fine. I can do this on my own. The point that I was trying to make here is that when we're counting people, we're going to use the kunyomi pronunciations for hitori and futari, right? But we're going to use the onyomi pronunciations for all other numbers of people. So, if you go to a restaurant and you need a table for 2, you would say, futari yo no teburu o onegaishimasu. Can I have a table for 2? But if you wanted a table for 4, you would say, 4人用のテーブルをお願いします. Can I please have a table for 4? Why is it this way? I actually don't know. I've never known. And when I tried to do a bit of research on why we use hitori and futari for 1 and 2 people, but we use san, yon, etc. after that, I came up empty. If anyone knows why it's this way, feel free to educate me, because I don't know. Anyway, now we know the numbers 1 through 10, and actually it's going to be pretty easy to learn 11 through 99. When building numbers bigger than 10, you basically just want to combine ju, which is 10, with whatever number, right? So you usually don't even need to change any of the pronunciations or anything like that. Here we go. 11, 11. 12, 12. 13, 13. 14, 14. Note that you're usually going to have to say 14 and not 14 because that sounds weird. You're almost treating it as like 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, and so on. And it keeps going just like that. So pretty easy, honestly. And then when we get to 20, 30, 40, etc., it's just the opposite. So for these numbers, we're just sticking the number in front of ju. We're basically saying 2 10s, 20. 3 tens, 30, 4 tens, 40, etc., etc. Again, note that for 40, we want 40 and not 40. And then for numbers between like 20 or a number between 30, etc., you're using the exact same process. You're just adding things together. So generally speaking, you can simply make any number just by adding numbers together in this way, like 46, 46, 77, 77, 82, 82. You see how it works? See? It's not so scary. And now we can learn the word for 100. 100. New word, new kanji. This is 100. It means 100. I'm going to do another video where I talk about numbers over 100, but for the moment, I think we've done a great job. I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of me too. It's storming, and I'm scared. But I was strong, even without Manager Sama here. Okie dokie. So, for this week's Dogtober special, Puppy-Sensei talks about things that she likes, I thought I would do a top 10 list. Right? We're talking about numbers. 10 is a number. Yeah. Anyway, so today I present to you Puppy-Sensei's top 10 horror movies of all time. I know, it's not very Japanese language related, but that's okay. It's Dogtober and I can do whatever I want. Plus, Manager Sama isn't here to keep me on track, so puppy off the leash. She's gone wild. Okay, here we go. Here's my list. 10. As above, so below. I am a huge fan of the found footage format, and I really think that As Above, So Below is probably my favorite found footage film. It's an interesting take on Dante's Circle of Hell, presented through a group of Urbex kids kind of exploring the catacombs of Paris. Cute. Midsommar. Now, Midsommar is on this list for two reasons. First, it's an amazing movie that explores grief in a very fascinating way, and it's like actually really cool and really innovative and really interesting, and it takes place in Sweden where like one of my best friends is from, and it's like interesting look into culture. Anyway, second, Hereditary messed me up and I'm still too afraid to rewatch it. Hutch. It Follows. If you haven't seen It Follows, I almost feel like I don't want to spoil absolutely anything for you. Like, it's a really well done horror movie with a super cool world building, and yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Watch it and then watch MatPat's video on how to beat the monster from this movie. Miss you, Matthew Patthew. Shich. Godzilla -1. I think we could probably get into an argument about whether or not Godzilla -1 really belongs on a list of horror movies. And if we're having that argument, then you haven't seen this movie. Of course, also the original Godzilla was absolutely presented as a horror movie too. It's an allegory for nuclear warfare. It's an allegory for the trauma of war, for fears about modernization, and all of those themes are brought back for Godzilla -1. Does it break the lore? I don't care. Is it a pretty perfect look at post-war Japan's anxieties? Absolutely. Look, Deep Blue Sea. I can't be the only one in the world with this movie on my top 10 list of horror movies, can I? Maybe. This isn't brilliant cinema. It's not even brilliant CGI, but I love sharks and I love shark movies. Jaws is surely more highbrow and all of that, but I think there's really something charming about Deep Blue Sea, and I've always really enjoyed it. It feels like the kind of movie that the cast really enjoyed making together, while Jaws just kind of makes me feel depressed. Also, You Ate My Bird is like the top tier revenge line, in my opinion. Go. Battle Royale. a warning if you have not seen Battle Royale. This is a violent movie. It is a very, very, very violent, gory movie. Basically, take the Hunger Games and crank up the gore meter by a factor of like 2,000. It stars Fujiwara Tatsuya, who at the time was kind of like one of the most famous Japanese movie stars, and he's really cute. He's really attractive. Anyway, Yon, Hush. There are two genres of horror movies that I don't usually get excited for: zombie movies and slashers. Zombies terrify me. Always have. I'm terrified of zombies. They are the type of monster and the type of monster movie that scares me the most. Why? I can explain. I'm kind of a little bit of a hypochondriac. I'm not gonna lie. I'm scared of disease and things like that. And zombies are an allegory for disease, and they scare me. So I'm really afraid of zombie movies. But also, like, generally speaking, slashers to me are just kind of a little bit boring. I don't know. I know like movies like Halloween and things like that are kind of the classics. I just don't enjoy them very much. I just don't love them. I don't love slashers. However, Hush is one of the very few slasher movies that actually really, really scares me. It's super well done. It's about a woman who's deaf. She lives alone in the woods, and a home invader comes to kill her. No reason, no backstory, no intricate plot about their hidden connection. Just a simple, I'm here to kill you story. And it's so good. It's stunningly good. From like top to bottom, the symbolism, the cinematography, the sound design, it's all top tier in my humble opinion. Sun. Nope. There was a time when this slot was taken by Get Out. And then Jordan Peele made Nope, and I was like, no way. This is peak Jordan Peele right here. I love this movie. I know a lot of people might disagree with me. It's different. It's a different movie. It's very, very different. But like the whole idea of the camera, of the exploration of view and sight, who gets to look at who's okay looking at who, of exploitation, of control of animals and things like that. The whole thing. It's really well done. It's really creepy. It's really well done, and it's iconic in my opinion. If you haven't seen it, it's really good. Ni. Alien. I absolutely love this movie. I often hear Aliens quoted on people's list of sequels that are like better than the original. I strongly disagree. Not because I don't think Aliens is a great movie. It's amazing, to be honest. Don't get me wrong. But I don't feel comfortable really comparing Alien and Aliens. They're doing very different things. Aliens is absolutely an action movie with some fantastic world building. Alien, on the other hand, is a traditional horror movie. It's a monster movie, it's a horror movie. It is creepy, it's suspenseful, totally, totally different. So for me, it's really hard for me to compare them in my mind because I think they belong in entirely different genres. Actually, you could say that the first four Alien movies are all totally different genres. Alien is a horror movie, Aliens is an action movie, Alien 3 is a love story, and Alien 4 is a comedy. Yuck. Honorable mention. House. I'm not really gonna recommend that you watch House, but I still want you to know that he exists. It's interesting. It's the only movie that I know of where not one but two people are killed by fruit. It also has an extended scene where a man falls into a bucket and then rides the bucket through traffic. Literally, this might be the most what the heck Japan movie that I know. Each. Scream. Is Scream probably dated these days? Yes. Have the new movies created some gross drama that might signal the death of the franchise? Maybe. Is Matthew Lillard a treasure that we are not worthy of? Absolutely. There's a surprising amount of Matthew named people related fangirling in this lesson, isn't there? Well, let me fangirl one more time before I end this episode. Only one more time, okay? Let me fangirl about my favorite James. If you're not a fan of Dead Meat and their work on YouTube, I would just absolutely love to recommend them. If you're a horror movie fan like I am, I think their kill counts are brilliant. Not just because they're entertaining, and they are, but also because James teaches you so many really cool behind-the-scenes facts about your favorite scary movies and how they're made. Anyway, I'm going to link their channel at the end of this video just because, like, I enjoy their stuff immensely. Also, James is from Detroit, which is interesting for reasons that I'll be mysterious about. This office is suddenly creepy. The manager's isn't here. It's okay, Excess. Be strong. Be strong. You're a brave dog. No! No! Okay, it's too scary. I feel like I want to get under my desk. Be strong. Thanks again for coming today. I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed my silly little top 10 list. Next week I'll be doing a vocabulary lesson, so please look forward to that. And also, feel free to check out the work that I'm doing on Twitch this month. I'm going to be doing some really cool collabs, and... Nope! 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 I can't! I love you all. Don't forget me. I've been Excess. Lead with love. See you later. Matane!